Hi, and here we go today. We're starting with Psalm 17, and it's again one of those calls for deliverance. And you see, again, we seem to see the same motif over and over again, but I don't think it can be reiterated too much. Hear the right, O Lord, attend to my cry, give ear to my prayer that goes not out of feigned lips. I'm not pretending here. I'm not, just repeating myself. There is a sense of urgency here. Thou hast proved my heart. Thou hast visited me in the night. Thou hast tried me and found nothing. The idea that sometimes we Christians don't want to be tried. We don't want to be judged. We don't want to judge one another. And sometimes we don't even want to judge ourselves. I'm saved and I'm going to heaven. But here, it's the idea of character. Used to be many years ago, Christians were more involved with their character. What they said, what they did, how they lived, how they stood. And there's still a lot of that, but we get more into what can I get from the scriptures? How can I grow my life? How can I make my life better? Sometimes the best way to make your life better is to make strong characteristic choices within yourself. It isn't just how can I make more money, or how can I fix my relationships, or how can I always be up on my game at my job or something, but how can I change characteristics? What in me is working, what in me is not? And I think that's where he's going to. This isn't just righteousness for salvation. It's, am I growing as a human being? Am I progressing? Do you see any wicked way in me? I called upon thee, for thou wilt hear, O Lord. Incline thy ear unto me and hear my speech. There's a communication also with God, not just a one-way talk of handing up a prayer, but you're waiting for a response. And that response should also come from reading of the word. I love the poetry that he gives here. Keep me as the apple of the eye, hide me under the shadow of your wings. Very strong and beautiful poetry here. We still use those words today. Apple of my eye, the shadow of my wings. I love that he uses some imagery here when he talks about sin. Like a lion that is greedy for his prey, as it is with a young man lurking in secret places. That there is a sense of, you can imagine, a lion that's lurking about trying to find a prey, trying to find someone to take. And there's young men that are doing this. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Deliver my soul. He's not looking to deliver himself. He's looking to the Lord to deliver him, but also he's looking to grow his character. And I love at the very last here, it says, as for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. I will be satisfied when I awake in thy likeness. So here's where we sometimes as Christians, that we don't cherish just waking in his likeness. We also have to have other things added to us, or other experiences, or monies, or vehicles, or better housing, or whatever it is, that we do awake and be like him. So I think this is a good one to read because of the strong poetic sense, and I love the imagery here, and just the idea of being awakened and being satisfied if I can look like him. So that's Psalm 17 in a nutshell. I'm going back to Genesis, and we've got a couple of interesting things here to look at in 33 and 34. Yesterday we left off with the two brothers are meeting, and at first Jacob thought, I'm going to get destroyed, or I could get destroyed. Here's my brother Esau coming with 400 men. All I have is my wife, my kids, and some of the servants and maidservants and manservants that I have with me, but we are not ready for an army. We're not ready for an attack. We're not ready to be taken on. And instead of him bolstering himself in the physical, he goes before God, and he goes off by himself and wrestles with God. And God changes his name to Israel, which means Prince of God. But God has already been working behind with Esau. And so what happens is that Jacob lifts up, and behold, Esau was coming with 400 men. He divided the forces. Leah and some children went some way. Rachel and some children went another way. His strategy was, well, if I'm wrong, one group can survive. And so Esau runs up the meeting, embraces him, and falls on his neck, kisses him, and weeps. Once again, we see kissing here. The idea of affection, not just in romantic, but more cultural, more intimacy. One thing I've noticed is that both boys have changed. When you saw Esau and Jacob earlier on. Esau is headstrong. He doesn't like his birthright. Jacob is the trickster. He's trying to manipulate his way out of hard work. He hangs around the house and doesn't do hard work. Esau's out in the fields and out working hard to hunt and to gather, while Jacob hangs around the house doing the more softer work. And what we see here is how they've both changed. Now, instead of animosity, there is humility. And I think it's humility on both sides. I know sometimes we dog Esau because in Romans it says, Jacob I loved and Esau I hated. But there's no evidence in here that God hated the person of Esau. He even lifted up the Edomites and told later on the Israelites not to attack the Edomites, that they were of Esau. But it's God has chosen one of those two that his line might go through, that the promise might go through. It's all about the promise. It's not about the persons. We always make it about the persons and the personality. We don't make it about the promise. So here we have Esau comes along and he looks at all this stuff and he goes, what meaneth all this stuff? You brought all this stuff first. Well, that's a gift to you. That's what Jacob was saying. He goes, man, keep your stuff. I got my own. I'm good. And Jacob's like, no, keep it. I mean, there's this sense of humility of they just wanted to be together. This undercurrent of, brother, I'm good. No, brother, please take my stuff. You know, so, and there's a little bit of humility here when Esau wants to move on. Let's take the men. Let's get everybody moving. We'll go back to my area. And Jacob's like, well, you know, we can't go too fast because I've got some little kids and I've got some sheep and they'll just fall out in the way. You go first. I'll follow with the sheep and I'll follow with the children. Again, this sense of humility. Not I'm the king, but I'm going to run with you and be the king, but I'm going to stay back and take care of the weakest, take care of the most infirm here. So let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servants, and I will lead on softly. Once again, types of humility. Again, the heart change of Esau and Jacob here. So I think sometimes we get too hard-hearted with these biblical characters and we don't see what the evidence is saying of changed heart. Did Esau ever worship Yahweh? Did he ever go to heaven? I mean, I don't know all those answers. I do know that it's very possible that he did come back to Yahweh because of the changing of hearts. I don't know many other gods that do the change of heart thing. Usually they're pretty stoic about just do this, this is how you worship me. If you see change in someone's life, look for God. Look for the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Look for Jesus. So here, there's all this evidence of this. He goes down, he finds a place near Sukkoth, and he sets up his tent near a place. It says here, and he bought a parcel of land, and he spread his tent out at the hand of the children of Nahor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of silver. So he's found a place to live in the area, and it's near the children of Nahor, Shechem's father. So he's near another group of people. We're going to see that coming up to be a problem here in chapter 34. But also I want to say that we can't also tend to group things together. We're covering a larger span of time over a very few verses. I don't think this happened right off the bat. I think he stayed with Esau a while. And again, implications because of some of the things that are going to happen in the next chapter. But he goes and finds a place, he sets it up, and he is now facing the city, and he's dealing with the children of Hamor. So we get in the problem of the next chapter. This is about the rape of Diana. She was defiled. Now, I don't know how old Diana was, but I kind of did a little analysis of where she was. I mean, all the boys except for Joseph and Benjamin had been born at this time, and all of them would have been, you know, I broke it down to where Jacob was having children, sons, born from like his 7th year after he came in to see Laban up to the 20th year. So if you're going to have 11 kids in about 20 years, you're going to be having a child every year or so. And again, there were 4 mothers involved. He had 6 kids under Leah. He would have one more he has one right now with Rachel. He'll have another one, Benjamin, coming up soon. He had 2 with Bilhah and 2 with Zilpah. So he had 11 kids so far. And he had Diana. Now, Diana was born after all the boys except for Joseph. So I figure out that she could have been 10 years younger than the oldest boy. So if we allow for a decade or for some time to have passed here, Diana, it seems like she's grown up. She's become a young woman. She's become a beautiful woman. I'm saying she could be anywhere from 14 to 18. That would make Reuben, her oldest brother, 26 to 28. So we've got some boys, a large amount of boys between the ages of 16 and 26. And we have Diana coming along after that. And then we have Joseph maybe a couple of years under him. Again, there's kind of speculation on this, but we tend to follow this pattern of based on births and based on the probabilities of having a baby every year. Seems like these women were really fertile. And so you probably would not have a woman have 2 births in the same year. But here we have Diana and the prince. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite prince of the country, saw her, he took her, he laid with her, and he defiled her. And this is looked at to be a rape. This wasn't consensual. And again, we see this same pattern later on with when we were dealing with Abimelech, that somehow the social mores of the time were really kind of screwed up. The fact that, oh, you couldn't take you had to kill the husband to get the wife, but if she was unmarried, she's free game. But we don't want to do adultery. I mean, we kind of see that in our culture too, where we play fast and loose with, well, you can't do this, but you can do that. You can't do this, but you can do that. You can't cheat on me, but you could, it's kind of crazy. And we see that here. And this man took this girl. She could have been anywhere, like I said, 14 to 16, 17, but that would put Judah at 26. Simeon would have been about 24. Levi about 22, Judah about 21. Dan would have been 19, 18. Naphtali 17. You see how that works. Then you have Gad at maybe 14. Asher, Zebulun 12, 13. Between those age ranges. So she had all these big brothers, and here she is, got defiled. And it says here that the boys were out in the field with the cattle, with the sheep, and Jacob held his peace until they came in. It isn't that he held his peace and didn't do anything. Maybe he had a plan. Maybe he was going to go and deal with this himself. Once again, here comes that word implication. But it says that he held his peace until they came. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to commune with him. And the sons of Jacob came out of the fields, and they heard it, and they were grieved that there was great folly in Israel in lying with Jacob's daughter. This thing ought not to be done. So they're going to kind of be social justice warriors, and they're going to kind of take this on themselves. Hamor communed with the boys and said, communed with Jacob, the soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. Give her in marriage, and we'll make marriages with you. Part of this also, you'll see later in the scripture, is if you married, everything of yours became theirs, and everything theirs. This was also a financial transaction. For Jacob and his boys, all of their stuff would become theirs, and all of their stuff become his. You've just expanded your power base in marriages, because that's what marriages do. If I married somebody, if my daughter married a son of somebody in that time, then my checkbook becomes his checkbook, and his checkbook becomes mine, and my sheep are his sheep, and his sheep are mine. And you've got to really know if that's what you want to do. This is why later on we'll find that the Israelites stayed within families, because it made it easier for inheritance. It made it easier for growing families to solidify and stay under, kind of one roof, one kind of organization, under Yahweh, under Jehovah. But without that protection of Yahweh, Jehovah, without the protection of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, anything goes. You're getting, it says not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers, but it's exactly what would be happening right here. So they're wanting to do this, plus his son has the heart for this girl, and he doesn't even realize what he's done. Maybe he has no guilt about it. Maybe that's how men do it there. Again, this is a problem for Jacob. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor the son deceitfully, and because he had defiled Hannah. We can't do this thing because you're not circumcised. Now here comes the rub. But we will join with you, and we'll take your daughters, and we'll get all this balanced out. All you have to do is become circumcised. And these words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. So the king and the prince thought, okay, that's not a bad deal. We'll all get circumcised. And he says later on, that, whereas when he's selling this to the people of that area, Hamor and Shechem went to the city gates and communed with the men there, saying, "These men have lived peacefully with us. Therefore let us dwell, and let them dwell in the land. Behold, it is large enough for them. We'll take their daughters, and we'll give them our daughters, and our men will consult with them to dwell with them as one people," again, as one people. But you don't see that they're going to become Israelites. Actually, the Israelites will become Shechemites, Hamorites, whatever they're going to call themselves. You kind of see the problem that's coming along here. And thereby you men, and shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast to be ours. Once again, this is not just my son loves your daughter. And so they're like, if you'll just get circumcised, if you'll just follow this one little thing, everything they've got will be ours. That's the game. But the sons of Judah couldn't make this play. They didn't have the authority. That's something that Jacob should have done. But the sons are talking and making this deal, not Jacob. And so what happens is that the men do this, and they're in pain, and they're sitting around in pain for a few days. And that's when it came to pass on the third day, and these guys are in great pain, that two sons, Simeon and Levi, again, that's son number 2 and son number 3, and this is, Diana's brothers, because Diana was born of Leah. And so they're taking this very personally, and they're taking it on themselves. Each man took his sword and came boldly and slew all the males, which would have been easily to do because they were in great pain. They slew Hamor and Shechem and all the sons with the edge of the sword, and took Diana out of Shechem's house. See, they'd already given Diana to Shechem, and now they're taking her out. And the sons of Jacob came upon the slain and spoiled the city. And I'm getting the idea that the sons of Jacob here is not all the sons, but it's these two sons. Because later on, this is mentioned when Jacob is blessing the sons, when he's about to die, and he's blessing the sons of Joseph at the same time also. And so he mentions what's happened here, and he holds Simeon and Levi accountable for that. He holds Reuben accountable for something else. So the thing is the problem is that this was not done, and it shouldn't have been done, but the sons did it. And Jacob gets very mad with these two sons. He said to Simeon and Levi, which once again backs my implication that it was just those two boys, that they shouldn't have done these things, because his point was, we're few in number. You think we're hot stuff because we're out here and there's 11 of you and 1 of me, and I've got all this stuff. These guys could pounce on us. They've got power. They've got warriors. And when we make a stink with them, and you've got all these you've got the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Jebusites, all these other ites, they're going to come at us. I don't know what Jacob was planning to do about this, and maybe he was planning to do nothing about this. I don't know. But all I know is the boys said, should we deal with our sister as a harlot? So there's a lot of family problems here. If anything, we also realize that Jacob's got family problems. Not only with his wives, but with the concubines, and now with all the sons and this one daughter. And God kind of just leaves that there, except for it's referenced again at the end of Genesis, when we're dealing with the blessings from Jacob to the sons of Jacob. So what do you take from this? Well, history. The story. Sit and read it for yourself. Kind of look at the scriptures and the wording and see what's saying. This is not condoning rape. This is not condoning violence on women. And this is condoning that men should protect women. And probably Jacob should have done more. But right now we see that what the boys chose was not a good choice. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you. Bye.